He told his wife he'd be home by midnight. By morning, his car was found. Doors locked, engine running. No footprints. No blood. No sign of a struggle. But one item left on the passenger seat changed everything. The night was electric. Bright lights buzzed over the Monaco skyline. The air smelled of salt and champagne. Cristiano Ronaldo arrived fashionably late. His black suit shimmered under the chandeliers. Paparazzi screamed his name, flashes blinding. Inside, music thumped like a racing heart. It was the UEFA Gala after-party. Glasses clinked, models laughed, stars moved like shadows. Then the room shifted. Dua Lipa walked in. She wore a crimson dress that hugged every line. The crowd parted like waves around her. Ronaldo froze mid-sip, glass trembling. Their eyes locked. For a moment, time slowed. Then she smiled. He stepped forward. They met under the soft purple glow of the VIP lounge. He leaned in to say hello. She leaned closer than expected. Their voices disappeared under the bass drop. People began to notice. Cameras lifted. But it was not the flirting that caught attention. It was her expression. Suddenly, her smile vanished. She pulled away sharply, eyes darting to the floor. Ronaldo followed her gaze. There was a phone. Face up. Recording. His face was on the screen, but it was not live. It showed him in a dim hallway, talking to someone, whispering something urgent, angry. Behind him, blurred but unmistakable, a locked door, with a symbol, a red triangle. Dua Lipa's hand trembled as she picked up the phone. She glanced at Ronaldo. His jaw clenched. She whispered one word. Why? He said nothing. Then the lights flickered. The music stopped. A voice echoed from the speakers. Cold. Robotic. Playback initiated. Everyone turned. The screen behind the DJ booth lit up. And what they saw made the entire room stop breathing. A surveillance video began to play. Grainy. Time-stamped. Dated just 3 nights earlier. The hallway looked sterile. Almost clinical. Fluorescent lights flickered above a long white corridor. Ronaldo was clearly visible alone walking fast. He stopped in front of the same red triangle door. He looked over his shoulder. Twice. Then he knocked. Softly at first. Then harder. A voice answered from the other side. Muffled. Distressed. Dua Lipa's fingers gripped the edge of the bar. The video had no audio subtitles. But Ronaldo's body language said enough. Urgency. Desperation. He leaned closer to the door. Said something low. Then, he punched in a code on the keypad. The red triangle flashed green. The door opened. Only for a second. But it was enough. A pale face peeked out. Tear-streaked. A young girl. Barefoot. She looked directly at the camera. Then the feed cut. Screams rippled across the room. The screen went black. Someone knocked over a champagne tower. Glass shattered. Ronaldo stood frozen. Eyes wide. Chest rising and falling with shallow breaths. Dua Lipa turned to him. Her voice was ice. Who is she? Security guards moved slowly toward the VIP area. Cameras were still rolling. Influencers were live streaming. Phones everywhere. No one dared speak. Except one voice. From the balcony. Deep. Calm. Unfamiliar. Ask him about Budapest. Every head turned upward. A man in a dark coat stood in the shadows. Unmoving. He held up a small black device. It blinked red. Do it now, before the others arrive, he said. Ronaldo's lips parted slightly. He looked afraid. Not angry. Not defensive. Afraid. Dua Lipa stepped back. Budapest, she repeated. He nodded. Slowly. His voice cracked. It was supposed to be gone. Whispers spread like fire through the crowd. One of the DJs vomited behind the booth. A PR agent fainted. The balcony man spoke again. They are coming. Who? Dua Lipa shouted. No answer. Just silence. Until the fire alarm blared. Red lights spun across the walls. But there was no smoke. No fire. Only the sound of dozens of phones buzzing at once. A mass notification. Every screen lit up. Emergency lockdown, do not leave building. Someone screamed. Then the doors sealed with a loud mechanical click. Metal slammed into place. Windows blacked out. The building was no longer a party. It was a vault. Dua Lipa's breath hitched. She grabbed Ronaldo's wrist. Tell me what is happening. He looked down. His voice was almost a whisper. They are erasing it all. Who is they? He pointed to the red triangle symbol on the now black screen. Then whispered. The project never ended. The lights flickered again. Then the ceiling above the dance floor creaked. Wood splintered. Dust fell. And a slow, rhythmic pounding began. From above. Then again. Then louder. Everyone looked up. The chandelier trembled. A panel in the ceiling shifted. Something was moving. Crawling. Dua Lipa backed up, dragging Ronaldo with her. He resisted. No, he said. It knows me. The pounding stopped. Silence. Then a voice. Not from the speakers. From everywhere. From inside their own heads. Subject 001 located. Termination protocol initiated. Ronaldo's knees buckled. He collapsed to the floor, grabbing Dua Lipa's arm. It was never about football. From above, the ceiling cracked, and something sharp, metallic, pushed through. Then another. And another. Claws. Too many claws. A high-pitched frequency rang out, so painful people screamed and fell to the ground. Blood dripped from ears. The chandelier crashed down. Lights exploded. Then, in the center of the chaos, a single red appeared on Ronaldo's chest. Laser-focused. Locked. And slowly pulsing. Ask ChatGPT. The red pulsed. Faster. Brighter. Then it turned solid. Ronaldo gasped. A low hum vibrated through the floor. The kind that made teeth chatter and bones ache. Dua Lipa screamed his name. But he did not answer. His eyes rolled back. His body arched, muscles seizing. Then silence. The humming stopped. The red vanished. But the claws, they were still breaking through. Jagged. Shiny. Dripping with a thick, black fluid that hissed on contact with the air. Something up there was alive. And it was angry. Ronaldo lay motionless on the floor. Dua Lipa knelt beside him. His pulse barely there. She looked up. The man from the balcony was gone. No trace. Only the blinking device left behind on the railing. Still red. Still counting down. 2:47. 2:46. 2:45. A countdown. To what? Dua stood, shaking, and looked around. People were huddled together in corners, whimpering, praying. Blood still trickled from some ears. The screen behind the DJ booth flickered back on. But it was no longer security footage. It was a map of Europe, dotted with red triangles. Hundreds of them. Then a new dot appeared. Monaco. It blinked. Faster. And then turned black. The map zoomed in to the very building they were in. It outlined each floor, each room. One word pulsed at the center. Breach. A new voice came from the speakers. Female. Stern. Emotionless. Level 3 breach detected. Site will be sterilized in T-2 minutes. Dua Lipa's breath caught. Sterilized, she whispered. Ronaldo twitched. Then his eyes opened, wide. Bloodshot. His mouth moved, but no sound came. She leaned close. What is happening? He mouthed the words. You were not supposed to see it. Then the ceiling gave way. Completely. The thing dropped. It was not human. Tall. Skeletal. Wearing a black exosuit laced with glowing veins. Its face was featureless, except for a triangle of red light where its eyes should be. It landed without a sound, then stood, straight, tall as two men, and turned its head toward Ronaldo. Dua Lipa screamed again. It raised one hand, thin, bone-like fingers folding open, revealing a hidden needle. It stepped forward. 1, 2. Ronaldo groaned. No, please. The red triangle on its face pulsed. Then it spoke. Subject 001. Sequence incomplete. Extraction required. It reached down. The needle glinted in the dim red light. But just as it touched Ronaldo's neck, the countdown hit 0:59. 0:58. A blinding white light exploded from the blinking device on the balcony. And from within that light, a shadow emerged. Fast. Silent. Wearing the same red triangle, but inverted. A rival symbol. It leapt. Struck the creature. Metal screeched. The thing reeled back. Black fluid sprayed across the marble floor. Dua Lipa shielded her face. The intruder landed in a crouch and slowly looked up. Its mask hissed open, revealing a face. Human, but scarred. Eyes full of fire. He looked at Ronaldo, then at Dua, and said, "If you want to live, do not trust him." Ronaldo coughed violently, blood on his lips. He tried to rise, tried to speak, but the ceiling above cracked again. This time, more were coming. Hundreds. Claws. Red eyes. Descending into the vault. The building began to tremble. Alarms wailed like sirens from a war zone. The masked man raised a black sphere from his belt. Pressed it. A pulse of blue light expanded outward, freezing everything in motion, even the creatures in mid-leap. Time itself paused, except for them. Dua. Ronaldo. And the man. He turned to her. "You are the key," he said. "The last one they cannot control." Dua shook her head. "I do not understand." He looked at Ronaldo. "You will. But not here. Not now." He pointed to the floor. A circular hatch began to rise. Steel. Ancient. Etched with the same red triangle. Only this one was burning. Literally hot. Smoke curling from its seams. Dua stepped back. The man grabbed her arm. "No choice. They found you." Then, from the frozen silence, Ronaldo moved. Somehow, defying the pulse. His eyes no longer his own. Solid black. His voice deeper. "Inhuman. You should have stayed in the music." He lunged. Straight at Dua. Teeth bared. And the light vanished. The light vanished. Darkness swallowed everything. Not just the room, but the sound, the air. Even thought itself felt thinner. Then a flash. Cold blue. Dua Lipa blinked. They were no longer in the ballroom. They were underground. Walls of rusted steel. Pipes groaning with unseen pressure. A thick, humming tension in the air. Like they were inside a sleeping giant. She stumbled back, heart pounding. The masked man was still with her, breathing hard. But Ronaldo? Gone. She spun around. "Where is he?" The man checked his wrist device. His voice tense. He slipped through. Too strong now. Dua stared at him. That was not Ronaldo. That thing was not human. He nodded. "It used to be." Then he paused. But the original mind is still inside, screaming. Dua clutched her head. Her temples burned. She could still hear echoes. Ronaldo's distorted voice. "You should have stayed in the music." She turned to the man. "What do they want from me?" He did not answer. Instead, he walked to a circular panel on the wall. Tore it open. Inside, rows of blinking blue vials. He grabbed one and handed it to her. It pulsed in her palm. Warm. Almost alive. He whispered, "This is your song. Your memory. Your firewall." Dua blinked in confusion. "My what?" Suddenly, a deep rumble echoed through the chamber. Dust rained down. The ground trembled. The wall behind them groaned. Then, boom. A jagged hole burst open in the metal. From the shadows, a long, spindly leg reached through, followed by another. And another. A creature crawled in. Not the armor types from the ballroom. This one was organic. Slithering. Translucent skin stretched over exposed muscle. Eyes blinking all over its body. Each one focused on Dua. It let out a moan. Not animal. Not machine. Human. A woman's voice. Crying. Dua stepped back, horrified. Is it speaking? The masked man loaded a silver dart into his wrist launcher. That is a failed host. It remembers being real. The creature's mouth split open sideways, revealing a flash of human teeth. And in the middle, a gold tooth. The same gold tooth Ronaldo had smiled with earlier. Dua gasped. Her knees buckled. No, that is not. The creature lunged. The man fired. The dart slammed into its neck. A sharp shriek rang through the corridor. It writhed, limbs flailing, then froze, then shattered into glass, like it was never flesh at all. Dua stared at the pieces. Each shard reflected a different image. A stadium, a hotel room, a girl in a cage, a hand holding a microchip with her name on it. She looked at the man, her voice shaking. What did they do to me? The man looked away. Not here. Not while they still listen. He tapped a panel on the floor. A small hatch opened. Inside, a spiral staircase descending into complete black. The rumble started again. Louder now. The walls seemed to breathe. The pipes began to leak a glowing red liquid. The air smelled of burnt plastic. And faintly, blood. The man grabbed her hand. We must go deeper. Dua hesitated. The vial still warm in her palm. The humming in her ears, now a low whisper. Speaking words she did not understand, but somehow recognized. The lights flickered. Then, a scream. From above. Not mechanical. Not inhuman. Cristiano. His real voice. Desperate. Terrified. Dua, do not trust him. She froze. Looked up toward the sound. Then down at the man holding her hand. And in that second, she saw it. His reflection in the metal wall beside them. His face. Wrong. Too smooth. His eyes. Blacked out. Like Ronaldo's. Only for a second. But it was enough. Enough to know. She had followed the wrong one. Dua's breath caught in her throat. The reflection lingered in the steel wall. Longer than it should have. As if time refused to move forward. She yanked her hand away from the masked man. He did not flinch. Did not react. Instead, he turned slowly, tilting his head. Now you see. His voice had changed. It echoed unnaturally. Layered. As if more than one entity was speaking through him. She backed away, tightening her grip on the pulsing vial. What are you? She asked. The words barely escaped her lips. The man smiled, but his mouth kept stretching. Too wide. Unnatural. I am the silence between the notes. I am what was written in your blood before you were born. I am what he tried to keep buried. He took a step forward. The metal beneath his boots hissed. Each step left a scorched imprint. Dua raised the vial. It pulsed brighter. The red liquid from the leaking pipes began crawling across the floor. Toward her. Alive. Attracted. Feeding on the energy she held. Suddenly, a bang exploded from the spiral hatch. A burst of smoke. Then footsteps. Heavy. Unsteady. Ronaldo. Real. Bleeding. He stumbled up from the shadows. Face pale. Eyes red but human. Dua, do not give it the vial. She looked between the two figures. Both reaching for her. Both claiming truth. The masked man hissed. You should not be alive. Ronaldo's voice was hoarse. That thing is part of Unit Null. The first failed integration. The masked man removed his glove. His hand was not skin. It was circuitry, twisted with veins, pulsing like a heartbeat. He reached out again. You are the bridge. Give it to me, and I will end this. The red liquid crawled faster now. It slithered toward the vial like it recognized it, like it hungered for it. Dua stared at the vial. Images flickered in her mind. A stage. A spotlight. A girl hooked to machines, singing while asleep. Her. A memory she never lived, yet remembered. Ronaldo coughed blood. They harvested your voice. It is not just music. It is the last frequency they cannot mimic. The masked man snapped. You are broken. You tried to protect her with lies. Dua screamed. Stop. The lights above burst. The air warped. The vial shattered in her hand. But there was no glass. Only light, exploding outward in a sphere. The red liquid shrieked. It tried to retreat. Too late. The light touched it. and it began to burn, sizzle, evaporate. The masked man screamed, a digital howl that bent the walls. He lunged for Dua, but Ronaldo tackled him. They hit the steel floor. The masked man's body began to distort, glitch, flicker. His limbs split into mechanical tendrils, snapping at Ronaldo's face. Ronaldo fought, teeth clenched, blood pouring from his mouth. Run, Dua. She turned to the hatch, the staircase spiraling into endless black. Behind her, the floor cracked. The red triangle symbol burst into flame. Real flame. Alarms screamed. The chamber trembled. Above, the roof began to open, not with machinery, but with claws. Flesh. The ceiling peeled back like skin. Something enormous was waking. Dua ran to the hatch. Her foot slipped. She caught herself on a cold pipe. Turned back. Ronaldo was still fighting, but losing. One of the masked man's tendrils had pierced his shoulder. Another wrapped around his throat. His eyes found hers. One last time, full of pain and apology. He mouthed a single word. Remember. Then the ceiling collapsed inward. The last thing she saw was a black, spindly hand the size of a car, grabbing both of them, dragging them upward, into the opening void. Then, darkness. Silence. Only Dua remained, alone, in the stairwell. And above her, the sound of something breathing. Ask ChatGPT. The breathing above was not human. It was wet, guttural, like lungs filled with tar. Each inhale sent tremors down the metal walls. Dua clung to the staircase railing. Her hand was slick with blood. She did not know if it was hers. The shattered vial had vanished, absorbed into her skin. She could feel it, buzzing beneath her veins. A rhythm, a code. She heard faint whispers, familiar, her own voice, singing, but layered with other voices, crying, screaming, begging. The hatch behind her slammed shut, sealed. She was cut off, from Ronaldo, from the masked man, from whatever had taken them, alone. Except, she was not. The stairwell lights flickered on, one by one, each step bathed in a dull green glow. Then, a shape at the bottom. Small. Still. A child. She stood barefoot, wearing a hospital gown, face pale, eyes wide. Dua's breath hitched. It was her. Not a memory. Not a hallucination. A younger version of herself, standing in the dark. Motionless. Dua descended, slowly, each step echoing like a gunshot. The girl did not move, did not blink, just watched. Watched with the kind of sadness that felt ancient. When Dua reached her, she knelt down, tears in her eyes. Her voice cracked. Who are you? The girl tilted her head. You know who I am. Dua shook her head. You cannot be me. I never. The girl interrupted. You forgot. They made you forget. She raised her arm. Her wrist bore a barcode. And beneath it, a red triangle, burned into her skin. Dua stared in horror. The girl stepped aside, revealing another door. Old. Wooden. Unlike the metal corridors above, this one looked real. Carved with musical notes. Some of them were glowing faintly. The girl pointed. They stored the rest of your voice inside. Dua took a breath. Every nerve screamed not to open it. But she reached for the handle. It was ice cold. She turned it. The door creaked open. And behind it, a room. Large. Circular. Filled with instruments. None of them man-made. They floated. Hung in the air like stars. Each one humming a different tone. The walls pulsed with light. Not electric. Organic. Alive. At the center, a throne. Carved from bone. Wrapped in wires. And strapped to it, a figure. Unmoving. Gagged. Head bowed. But glowing. With the same pulse as the vial. Dua stepped closer. The air grew thick. Like breathing through syrup. She reached out to touch the figure's hand. But the moment her skin made contact, a blast of sound erupted. Not noise. A note. Pure. beautiful, painful. Her body jolted. The chamber around her shuddered. And the instruments began to play. By themselves. Strings screamed. Keys slammed. Drums pounded like war. The thrown figure raised its head. Eyes open. Mouth stitched shut. But from deep within, it sang. Dua felt her knees buckle. She knew the voice. It was her own, but older, wiser, and filled with suffering. The younger version of herself whispered behind her. They used it to control him, to rewrite him, to bind the machine to the man. Dua turned. Who? The girl pointed upward. Through the ceiling. Through the building. To the very top. Where the original broadcast had begun. The UEFA Gala. The after-party. Where Ronaldo had looked into her eyes for the first time. And said nothing. Because he already knew. Knew what she was. What they had made her into. The living key. The final code. The one voice that could unlock or destroy them all. Suddenly, the room cracked. A long, sharp fracture splitting the air. Reality itself tore open. Behind it, a landscape. Metal forests. Bleeding skies. Machines praying at altars made of silence. A towering figure rose from the horizon, covered in eyes. All blinking in unison. All locked on her. It spoke, and its voice was hers. But corrupted. Inverted. Echoing with rage. You cannot unsing what has already been written. The throne behind her exploded. Chains snapped. The stitched-mouthed version of her stood. And reached for Dua's throat. Eyes glowing. Voice building. About to release a sound that would tear open the world. And Dua, frozen, could only listen. The stitch-mouthed version of Dua stepped forward with jerking, unnatural grace. Her fingers twitched like broken marionette strings. Each movement released a low hum, a vibration that made the floor ripple. The younger Dua vanished, simply blinked out of existence. No warning, no sound, only the faint scent of lavender. Dua staggered backward. Her breath came in ragged bursts. The corrupted version raised her hand, palm glowing with sound waves. And then, she began to sing. Not with her mouth, with her body. Her ribcage vibrated. Her spine echoed like a harp. Her very breath wove sonic patterns in the air. The room groaned. The floating instruments shattered. One by one, the walls began to bleed light. Real, liquid light. It poured onto the floor. Hissing. Boiling. Consuming. Dua tried to cover her ears. It was useless. The song was not heard. It was felt. In her bones. In her thoughts. In her past. Memories surged like a tidal wave. A hospital room. A circle of men in lab coats. Charts filled with musical notation. But no lyrics. Only frequencies. Measured. Controlled. Branded. She saw herself, 10 years old. Wired to a machine. Notes playing through her skull like electricity. Each sound stripping her identity. Each frequency rewriting who she was. She remembered the pain. The silence that followed each session. The emptiness. And above it all, a voice. Familiar. Male. She must be tuned perfectly. Her body buckled. She fell to her knees, choking on air that felt too heavy. The stitched-mouthed version loomed over her. The stitches were unraveling, thread by thread. With each note, another bond broke, another scream built, until finally, the mouth opened, wider than possible, and out of it poured the anti-song, the frequency that should not exist. It made time falter, gravity distort, reality flicker like a dying screen. Dua clawed at the ground, trying to crawl, but the floor was gone. She was falling, through memories, through experiments, through every lie they told her. And in the middle of the void, she saw Ronaldo, trapped in a prism of light, spinning slowly, arms stretched, his body cracking. The anti-song was reaching him, tearing him apart, note by note. But his eyes, still his, still fighting, still knowing. He looked at her, mouth bleeding, voice silent. But his stare, it said one thing, sing back. Dua's hands trembled. The shattered pieces of the vial floated beside her, forming a melody she had never learned, but always known. It burned in her chest, rising, a memory not written by science, but by soul. She opened her mouth, and the first note escaped. High, clear, terrible. The anti-song recoiled. The stitched-mouthed version screamed, her own sound colliding with Dua's. The chamber around them cracked apart. A war of frequencies. A battle without weapons. Only voices. One real, one stolen. Their sounds clashed, created shapes in the air, violent, angelic shapes. Time stopped. The bleeding sky above them turned white. And then, a shatter. Deep. Final. The stitched-mouthed version exploded into light. And Dua kept singing. Not for herself. Not for revenge. But for release. The prism around Ronaldo fractured. Light poured from his wounds. He fell. Straight toward her. Their hands almost touched. Almost. Until a new sound rose. Darker. From far, far below. A third voice. Not hers. Not the stitched version. Not Ronaldo's. Something older. Forgotten. But awakening. Its tone was deep. Like mountains moving. Like the end of time breathing in. The sky above split, revealing a single, massive red triangle. Rotating in silence. Watching. Waiting. The final song had not yet been sung.